to inch your way out of there. So getting ready to do your front splits. If you're short on time, this is a really effective way to warm up your glutes and your quads. So the lunge that we did in the warm-up earlier, same thing. Now your foot is actually on a wall. So trying to keep the back heel from leaving the wall even as you come down into the lunge. Keeping your torso nice and straight. Go for about 10 to 15 on each side. You're going to notice that your heel is going to want to peel away from the wall. This is a habit that we probably have from never doing this with resistance behind us, but keeping that heel pressed into the wall is really going to demand more of a dynamic stretch in your hip flexor, and also it's going to demand that the glute remains turned on and active the entire time. And once you've completed those lunge pulses, we're coming into a half split. Use a pole or a chair to hold on to, and taking the inside leg, stretching it forward. Rotate your toes out a little bit. Compress your belly towards your thigh, and then walk both hands over to the outside of that leg just to open up the outside of the hamstring. Do your best to keep your knee straight, quad engaged, and taking it back to center. Coming into the lunge position, you're going to kick your back heel up towards your glutes and grab onto it. Do your best to try to keep everything a straight line from kneecap up to shoulder. Be mindful for your knee. You may want to try to put some padding there. And then release the foot. So we're going to do some slides now. Extend your legs straight, point your toes. Once again, rotating the toes outwards. Squeeze the quad. Straight line from belly button to big toe. And with something under your heel or a sock on, going to bring it forward to the point where your back hip starts to rotate outwards. This is your true split. As you notice the back hip starts to rotate, slide back up. Pretend like you have magnets pulling your legs back together, or like, the James Brown, like drop split and slide back up. Slide down. We're going to shoot to do about 5 of these. Looks easy, but is actually very hard. It's like 10 times as much work to come back up, but this will make for a very dynamic and active split. And it's okay if you don't come all the way down. We're trying to keep it true, both hips neutral. You may notice that you start to come down a little bit lower, but keep something to hold on to, because if you get really low, you might find it difficult to get out, and if you don't have your split completely flat to the floor, that can be a tricky place to be stuck in. And once you finish your 5th one, you're going to put your hands down and bring your chest down towards your thigh. Try flexing your foot here to get a calf release. If you want, you could grab onto your toes and flex in a point. If you don't have a flat split, it might make you feel a little bit safer to put a block underneath your front thigh. And switching sides. Make sure you've got padding under that knee. The inside leg will be the one that will be splitting forward, and make sure you've got something to hold on to, a pole, chair, or a block. First, just a half split. So straight spine, straight front leg, back knee is underneath the hip. With a flexed foot, engaged quad, pull your chest forward and just relax into it. Walk the hands outside the foot, rotate the toes out a little bit to get more on the outside of the hamstring. And just taking some time here to relax and breathe into it. Still keeping the knee straight, the quad engaged, and some resistance underneath your front foot, like you're pushing your foot into the floor, pressing the top of the back foot into the floor. Last few moments here. And then we'll come up, frame the front foot with the hands, hold on to something to support yourself, bend the front knee, and preparing to stretch the back quad. So sliding forward so that you're not on your kneecap, but more on your femur, and bring the heel in. Squeeze your glute as you pull your heel in. And try to tuck your pelvis underneath you. Very isolated stretch and also very intense. And once that feels open, you can release the back foot and prepare yourself for your slides. Pad the back knee, extend the straight leg forward, and rotate the toes out. So you want to see the inseam of your pants. Sliding out only to the point where you feel your back hip starts to rotate outwards. So we're looking for a true split. And slide it back in. We're going for 5 of these. What's going to make this easier for you is if you keep your core muscles engaged. Usually this is the first thing to go as we're focusing on splits because we're thinking all about the legs, but the core is part of the legs. Your core muscles support your hip flexor, your psoas, iliopsoas muscle. So we want to make sure that that muscle has all the love that it needs as it gets a nice deep opening. Rotating and squeezing the quad. If you start to go deeper, no problem. Just be mindful you want to keep holding on to something if you don't have a flat split to the floor so that you don't overdo it. And just a couple more. Hands can come down and then belly flat into the thigh. Flex your foot here to get a calf release. This will be very intense. You can flex and point. And then coming on up, being careful, and slide that front foot back in, and you're done.